Well, it's daytime. It's Monday. It's morning. My neighbor did indeed leave me some wood down there. He just kind of moved it over with the other wood he had, but it's down by the mailbox instead of where the other stuff is. And a reasonable amount. He definitely took quite a bit, but that's cool. I've got enough coming in that the next emergency, and that's really what I wanted for it. All right, and DAK. Well, looks like I need a piece of tape up here. I guess we get started. Now, it's always hard to actually start playing a game. After that long intro, working my way through this sucker, I can't believe how long that ended up. I'm going to play this how I have to face it. Now, by which I mean you're going to catch me, stopping to look up rules, stuff like that. Even though I did the compass scenario, I'm not really comfortable with the pattern of the game yet. It will get easier, but this is kind of the, hey, if you're tackling OCS for the first time, this is, or for the first time in a long time and you've never been a real addict for it. Like, if I picked up SFB today, I'd have to look up a lot, but I'd still remember the core, I think, pretty well. But if I picked up ASL, which I've played a few times, I'd have a hard time. Okay. So we're going to worry about this sequence of play. And there's a weather determination segment. For that, I have to find the book, volume 3 of the rules. I'm going to need this. Oh, you know what I haven't done yet? I haven't set up reinforcements that are coming in anytime soon. I really ought to get those on the board. Hold on. Well, that's, fuck me. Second volume of the scenario book. Yeah, the tape did not work there. Okay, I'll be back in a moment. But the second volume of the scenario book contains the orders of battle or of arrival, and I start with 1940. Restrictions are in force. They're spelled out here. Very helpful. That way I don't have to pick through the rules to try to remember this shit. And then I'm in September as the first month of the game. I'm gonna, I think, at the beginning of each month, drop the units down rather than try to put down what shows up. I don't think I'm going to put next month's reinforcements on the reinforcement track, on the monthly track, because you can see there might be quite a few different stacks there. So I got to find these couple of units, which is not hard, and then I'm assuming the axis is behind this. Oh, this is painful. Oh, I'm not using historical. Cool. Cool. Okay. And then there's the axis order of arrival, which is also historically there. The withdrawal and return, I'm going to use the random. This is a good thing. If this was baked in to the... So this is a choice that's not going to work for all players, no matter what you make as the choice. If it was baked into the Allied order of arrival, and this is the way, Desert Fox does it. If you were playing with variable withdrawals and re-entries and stuff like that, you would have unnecessary information kind of put in here. Now, obviously, something could be done, bracketed or whatever, to try to let you know, hey, don't use this. With them separated, it actually makes it tough on players who are playing with the historical withdrawals. Probably it's a worse solution to have it completely separated in general, but Dean has made it pretty clear, if you're a starting player, don't use the historical, use the variable, even though the variable is honestly more complicated, right? You know, the historical just tells you what you have to do, which I find kind of weird, but I think his feeling there is, look, unless you have a really strong reason to use the historical, don't bother, but we put it in because some people didn't like the randomness. All right, I have to do something to fix these maps. This is, up here is where I had tried a paper clip, and I was like, yeah, you know, it doesn't really matter. Well, the paper clip obviously wasn't going to do much, but I've got things disjoined here too. It must have had a bump, and I'm going to have to kind of carefully slide the tables and try to fix that. You can see all the tape on this one has come up. I put this one back down, but when it comes down to it, this sort of removable tape, it's removable because it's not very sticky. I'm assuming it's got the same adhesive as Post-its have, which is kind of sufficient for a lot of stuff, but it's just not doing it for keeping maps together. It may help a little bit, but very, very little. And I don't know what to do, you know. I really don't. This is barely better than no tape at all. So back, weather determination segment. We simply roll on here. It is September, so it has to be a 63 or higher, red first, always. So we don't have any weather there. We skip to first player determination. Now, here I'm gonna jump to the rule book because first player is the axis. That's guaranteed on the first turn of the game. Okay. Every scenario has a guaranteed first player, but, you know, I mean, would it really matter? Maybe. Yeah. It's just... All right. Fuck me. What happens if I make it longer and give more surface area? Actually holding it. Of course, that creates this bulge, which is not what I want, but whatever. Okay, first player turn, aircraft refit. None of my aircraft have been used yet, so I don't have to refit them. If they had been used, I would have to pay supplies on a per airbase basis, which is kind of weird because a big airbase is just more efficient at recovering planes. You know, it's like the bombs are cheaper or something if I do it at a big airbase. I don't understand that, but anyway, and the fuel. Reinforcement phase, we would look on the track, there's nothing, great. Movement phase, all right. This is where it gets complicated. First, there's a breakout segment. That's if you're surrounded. You get certain benefits to use the breakout rules. I don't know precisely what they are. I'm going to try to avoid getting myself surrounded, but I'm sure I'll have to look it up. Mode and movement. Okay. This is where you do your standard movement, but at the same time as I'm doing movement, I have to do my fuel expenditures. And this is what's kind of tough. I'm going to have to kind of study what the hell's going on. Now, at the same time as I'm paying attention to this, which I'm really not, I have to flip over here. Now, luckily, both sides are, for certain important information, are in play here. So the required Italian units must be in Egypt by next turn, by the end of next turn. Now, obviously, I'm just going to be able to drive up there. But I got to do some thinking, and this is where it's going to be kind of tough for me to handle what I'm doing, because I want to be able to plan and move effectively, right? But I also want to be able to show what I'm doing in order to get that planning underway. So I will probably come back, but I do want to try to move stuff from here. So what do I have over here? Not much, I fear. Primarily, I'm looking to see if I have trucks over here, which I do not. Oh, reinforcement segment. I have not done everything in the reinforcement segment. There's variable reinforcements. Where'd they be? I don't think they're in here. Okay. Allied variable withdrawal, return. Axis variable reinforcements tables. I do still get some. I think. Maybe not, maybe not. Italian's not until February of 41. Okay. But we have to deal with the Malta table, which means we have to look here. Malta air modifiers. Invasion of Malta hasn't happened. There's no Flieger Corps. No active Flieger Corps. January 41 or after. Or active Flieger Corps with this. Do I not roll? Do I not roll, or is there no modifier? See, there's a +0 modifier here if I have the active Flieger Corps with X, Y, and Z in it, which leads me to believe that maybe I am stuck with the supplies I have here. That feels fucked up. That can't be possible, right? If I have any reinforcements before 41, that will not work, because I have to be able to ship those reinforcements. So it may be that Malta is just zeroing me out at this point. Let's take a look at the Axis reinforcements here. What the hell is this? Move to dead pile. Okay, that's something I'd be able to rebuild, but that's not really terribly helpful. Yeah, I'm getting units. I mean, there's got to be something that handles this. Now, I wish there was a rules reference in here. I don't remember seeing anything about the shipping table that went into details, but I'm going to have to dig now into, this is how you play the game, right? I'm going to have to dig into these rules and try to see, do I get a shipping with a 0 modifier? Is there anything that implies that? Right now, I'm saying that has to be the case, because there are reinforcements before any of the modifier columns take place. And then if I look here, British were last to move through Benghazi. Not yet. Okay, and some other qualifiers in both cases. Now these have some rules assigned, 17.1 to 1.05. I don't think those are what I'm looking for. certainly not 17. So what we're going to be looking for is schlepping. The access player does, and it's only limited by the inflow of reinforcement entry. Commonwealth reinforcements must enter Nile Delta. Access must ship to Tripoli. They arrive designated first stop. They can then move, but they can't do this until air reinforcements. I'm not getting my shipping limits being described there. Okay, so the Commonwealth player does not have a regular shipping allowance as the Axis player does, and is only limited by the inflow. Count against both port capacity, shipping of both units. I'm gonna have to turn off the camera and keep looking. I seem to remember that I found something that referred me to this, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I really, don't want to have piles of units over in that old box or whatever that I'm not able to ship in. That doesn't sound right at all. Here we go. The Axis shipping allowance is provided. It's under Axis special rules on the logistic tables and figures provided on map A. The actual shipping allowance is determined by taking its raw allowance and subtracting any losses from the Malta table. Current using the list shown and market on the provided table. I think that there is nothing. I'm not going to do dump rot on this month. Sue me if I'm supposed to. Okay, so my bold number, September, I have 2. I think it says pick the most applicable. Oh wait, no active January 41 or active flag corps or flagger corps with certain things detached. I think I'm at 0. I don't know. Like no modifier applies. Okay, so what do? We roll on the Malta table, and it's 2 dice plus the Malta mod. I get a 4, which means I will lose 1 SP of shipping. So my shipping capacity is 1 SP. As reinforcements, I come over here, I grab an SP, and I can ship that over here to Tripoli, because I have no reinforcements coming in this turn. Okay. So that's what I've done there. Now, I also have coastal shipping. Let's take a look at this. The C is coastal shipping. I have 4 points of coastal shipping. I am going to send, my port capacity is 6. I received 1. I can send 4 more. Because I have 4 coastal shipping. Now, where can I send those 4 shipping? This may be happening during movement at this point, maybe outside of reinforcements. Well, Benghazi is no fun. Let's leave Benghazi alone for now. It has a port capacity, which is strangely not listed here. feel like there should be a number here. There's a port capacity here. I don't see a Benghazi port capacity. Okay. Let's look elsewhere. I don't see port capacities on any of these others either. Oh, yes. Port capacity is handled up here. So I could send 1 + 2 talents there. Now it would cost less of my shipping to send it there, but I can ship all 4 of these with the coastal shipping that I have. I could get some more reserves. I could get more into Benghazi, but I want to get my supplies up front. This may be stupid because I'm going to lose whatever I send. Okay, so let's take a look at Bardia. Bardia is a port, and it doesn't have a damage track. And it doesn't have a port capacity there. It's written on the board. Okay, so 2 talents can go to Solemn, 2 talents to Bardia. So I'll shift this to 3. And send 2 talons into, tokens into each of these, okay? Tobruk has a 1. So I'll drop this from 3 to 2 and grab a 1. I'm going to put these here so that I can't leapfrog them because, again, I think this happens during movement. So now I have 2 supply points left. I can send 2 tokens up to Derna. Do I want to do this? I don't know. This is getting kind of iffy. But this can only hold 1 + 2 tokens. So, yes, I do. I want to get supplies out of Tripoli. Because remember, they rot in Tripoli. They're not doing me any good there. I can build units, and I don't have any destroyed units. So let's send 2 up to Derna. And we got to walk all the way around to get this. Well, they're not going to be moving anyway, so that's no problem. And we'll send the remainder, which is the full Benghazi capability, up there. And again, I don't have trucks back there, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm more worried about the guys up front, where I do have trucks and stuff that I want to activate. All right, now it's time for what I wanted to do before, which is the planning. Basically, I have to figure out where I'm going to be able to get my supplies, where I'm going to be able to get my units. All of this has to be kind of pre-plotted before I start moving pieces. And then I have to kind of expend the supplies I have. If I look at what I have here, I have no trucks back here. I'm assuming I have none back here. Yeah, I think my only trucks are up at the attack itself. Wow, I got the supply dump there. Another thing I could do is I could start shifting units down this way. But there's a problem with that. My motorized stuff, do I have motorized stuff? Oh, I have injured stuff. Yeah, these aren't motorized. So I could send these big infantry divisions going down, but are they going to do me any good? They might help me defend back here after a complete disaster, and I don't need fuel for them, and I can supply off that primary road, so that kind of doesn't hurt me. So maybe I want to send some that way. I don't want to send this because it's motorized. I don't want to send these because they can only move motorized. That would require me to expend fuel, and then once they get there, they're going to take fuel to operate. Whereas the big infantry divisions don't take fuel for me to drive them into place. They're going to walk there. But if they do, if they do walk there, I still need supplies for them to be able to push forward. Do I have, see, I can't use equipment to repair trucks that don't exist yet. So I've got to actually get trucks into Tripoli to be able to move anything, if I understand this correctly. And I have very few trucks, and what I have, like, I think I have this truck, and then I have organic trucks. And that's just not enough to run a campaign off of, I'm afraid. Yeah. Well, yeah, supplies. So, both Burma and Reluctant Enemies, supplies may have been limited, but I feel like they're really, really restrictive, at least at this point in this game. And they're what prevent you from doing shit. When do I do rebuilding and whatnot? I don't know. That's something I gotta look up. Okay, the rebuilding actually happens during the reinforcement phase, so this is when I would do it. Now I have manpower. To rebuild a unit in the dead power, you have to place the replacements within, yeah. I think I have a notional headquarters. Oh, those guys are in combat mode anyway. I wouldn't have to switch them. I thought there was something that required you to spend SPs for rebuilding. So the rebuilding cost here, let's say I was looking at an infantry, an infantry division. Am I just not able to rebuild those suckers? It's funny that they come in battered if that's the case. I got infantry brigades, one step is one. Oh, first step of an infantry division. Say second step somewhere. I'm really not sure what's going on here. Like, which is the first step of the infantry division? Oh, here we go. Infantry or GAF regiment or divisional step. Okay, first step would be, I think, if the thing's entirely destroyed, you're going to have to give it the support units and whatnot. So these would cost me 2 packs each, and I don't have a hell of a lot of them. So I'm not going to do that, but this would be the time during the reinforcement phase, before I ship those supplies around, that I'd do that. So now I'm back to the same question I had before, which is, wow, I haven't done anything yet, have I? Oh, boy. And, you know, like I said, I'm not going to be doing every turn to this degree. First of all, things will get faster as I get more used to it, but also, there's just no point for me to go through these little mechanical steps in terrible degrees. But I do want to capture some of the essence of starting to play one of these big games. Because this is a lot more complicated than the Central Front series. I know, you know, a lot of people were kind of like, good luck with that, with the Central Front series stuff. And I sure had problems coping with all the different rules, all the different special cases in that. But OCS is better designed in terms of, like, I'm hoping that the patterns resolve better in my head and I'm able to cope with them a little better. I don't know if the rules are better written. They're well written. They're well written. But there's something I like about that old SPI style. However, somehow liking it wasn't enough for that. All right, so time to do thinking, and I'll try to express what those thoughts are by jumping in where necessary. I'd say one of the biggest problems with this is sort of the size Like, everything's going on up here, right? I need the rest of the map. A little bit of shit goes on down here, but all the information is happening in areas of the map that are hard for me to reach. There's a lot of water there, so it's going to be far away from that side, even if I wanted to, like, sit over there. If I had set the map up maybe in opposite direction so that I had more access to the coastal stuff. Because honestly, I can reach and deal with this stuff at a distance. But this stuff is kind of painful, and I would love to have it closer. On the bright side, though, I have a lot of empty map where I can throw all my roll books as I'm using them. But yeah, the idea of, like, sitting in my chair and trying to cope with stuff that far away is almost impossible. Basically, what I have to do is I have to lean across the table, probably bump the maps to deal with where all the action is happening, which is along the coast. And it's not much better coming from the other side of the board, even if I'm willing to do that. It's a little bit better, but not much. Key issues I have to deal with is the refueling. And remember, special fuel costs in this, you can't pay 1 SP for the headquarters and all its independent units. All non-divisional units must be paid for separately by costs. Now, that's going to be painful as hell. I look at the costs for different types. I'm not allowed to do the headquarters method. So I can do formation. I have a multi-unit formation, don't I? I may not have one yet. I have these conf groups which work as multi-unit formations. So those, I can pay 1 SP to fuel up and move. Otherwise, though, for the most part, I'm going to have to pay 1 talent per unit, or 1 token per unit that needs fuel. Now, this is regardless of the size of the unit, which is weird as fucking hell, isn't it? Luckily, the game's designed in a way where there aren't, like, motorized divisions and stuff like that. The divisions are all foot units, but it has nothing to do with the regimental equivalent size of the unit. So units that give me an RE for combat supply and stuff use something very different for movement supply, their fuel. So those are the costs that I'm going to pay. That's what I know already. I hope I stacked reasonably. I probably did not. I'm probably going to spend more supplies than I need. Now, I am allowed to spend these supplies. I'm just not allowed to move them. Let's say I wanted to move this sucker here. Well, I could spend 1 SP to move that stack, but there's only 2 units in the stack and a marker. So I'm going to spend 2 tokens to move him. Now, in order to do that, I can direct draw, and I've got a range of 5 movement allowance for that, which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 isn't going to get me back to Tobruk. Wait a minute. Got to look at a. Do you believe? Oh fuck. Primary roads, I believe, actually have a faster movement rate than 1 per 2. I think they're 1 per 3. Primary road goes up to 1 per 3 for truck movement. Okay, but in order to understand this, I have to know how I'm able to trace the supply. That's not trace supply. So what I have to do is look up, and I believe you draw it with the type of movement point. Combat using truck or tracked cannot expend any unless fuel is paid. Fuel is never needed for other types. It's going to be direct draw. Within 5 movement points of a dump or a hex that is adjacent to the dump. Always use truck movement points when counting back to a dump, except for a headquarters with a throw range that's leg or track. Okay. So yeah, I get to use truck movement for this. So 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I gotta count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm still not going to make it back to Timbrook. Okay, good enough. That's a pain in the ass because it means I have to use my nearby supplies to do it. So in order to fuel this unit up, in order to fully fuel it so that's like a formation fuel, I have to pay 1 SP. That would give me enough fuel to be able to use it at other times, like if I get a reaction move or whatnot, which is a reason that maybe I wanted to put something like this in play. All right, let's just move this guy forward. He doesn't need fuel. So we flip him over to move mode. I don't know if we want to do that. Yeah, I want to see how far. So these guys aren't going to get very far. So yeah, let's move them in move mode. So they're going to be using foot movement because of the type of symbol on there. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've moved a unit. Yay! I feel pretty safe moving up to here. Again, I'm going to be bringing things forward as I operate. I'm going to need to replace batteries. This is about the level of detail that I normally cope with when I'm facing a first turn of a game. But there's so much more detail in the OCS. I just wanted to do this because in my prior OCSs, even in Reluctant Enemies, I think I did not push into just how much effort is involved in starting to get the system under your skin. Now, I've moved everything that I can kind of move by foot up here. All the infantry units that I have. The artillery, I'm not using their motorized movement. I'm moving them up, hand-hauling them, because I don't want to use fuel up. Artillery is really expensive to use anyway, and I probably just need to get these guys beyond the Mussolini line, and I can check to see who needs to be where. So far, I haven't captured Buck. I look over here. Okay, these guys down here, they're all in supply. They're fine. I can deal with them. I can move them forward if I want to. I don't have to. They're in trace supply, which means they're kind of outside my concerns. They may be serving a perfectly good purpose up there. But I get down here and I'm a little worried. But Jirabub is able to supply infantry unit style units. So I'm actually in supply here. I'm within the 5 movement points. This is problematic, though. And basically, I don't want to move these guys, although I could. But I don't want to move them because wherever they go, they're going to be in worse shape. You know, like I don't want to push in. You know, taking Seawall would be cool and everything, but unless I'm making real advances that I'm going to keep along the coast, I just don't want to cope with it. It's just adding complexity for no advantage, and I'm not counting on being able to keep the coast. But this guy's problematic. Now, later in the game, he would be in trace supply, but he's not right now, because this is just normal roads, not primary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He doesn't make it up to a port or anything. He is out of supply. I got to move him. So I'm going to shift him up as well to here, where he will be in trace supply. This is kind of screwy because technically, like, this is where he was stationed. He probably should be in supply to some extent or another, and the game just doesn't allow it. But that's something I'm taking care of. So far I've taken all the easy stuff out of the way, and I'm going to move forward to the stuff that I really actually have to pay attention to. Oh, I may have some more infantry in here that I want to move. You got to be kind of careful about is truck movement allowance. So there's three kinds of movement allowance that are present, and I can show you each of them. This is foot movement allowance, the white numerals, and that's what I'm mainly moving because I don't have to expend fuel for that. This here is tracked movement allowance. That's going to require fuel. it's pretty fucking obvious, it glares out at you. But these little motorcycle units up here have truck movement allowance, which means, and you know, it makes sense, they're motorcycles. But my first thought was, oh, they're a different kind of unit, and hey, maybe I want to move them, they're kind of fast, because I've got things like this Camel here, which is, and Cav and stuff, is foot movement allowance, but has a movement mode that's also foot movement allowance. And I can move quite fast with that, where I, you know, generally can't move that fast with anything that is unfueled. So that actually has a capability to just run up and maybe grab City Barani or whatever. Do I want to capture it? Maybe. I don't know. Right now I'm going to look at what I need to gas up. And for the most part, it's going to cost me 1 token per thing I want to gas. Now, at the same time, I have to keep into consideration what needs to get across the line. And that's going to be in the access rules, if I recall correctly. Is it in the Italian special rules? Or in, no, it's in higher command requirements. This is so annoying because I'm like, Mussolini, Italian, go there. Yeah, so I have to take City Barani by next turn. Well, that's gonna be easy, but I must have the following in Egypt on or after 15th. And east of the Mussolini line. And then I have additional that I have to put in there. So I'm going to need to get a Corps Headquarters, 3 full infantry divisions. I hope I'm on the way to that. My infantry divisions are rather slow. I've got 3 full infantry divisions here, and probably another one here, that are in Egypt. But they've got to make it past the Mussolini line. By the 15th of October. I have a month to get there. Okay, great. And then in addition, east of the border, I have to have another corps, 4 more infantry divisions. Oh, I have to have an artillery regiment or brigade, and 5 other units in that initial wave going forward. I'm probably going to want to grab City Barani at this point. I'm trying to consider, do I want to push forward? Do I want to make that shot at Mersa Matrua? I will fail. There's no question, which to me means the answer is no. I want to drag my feet there and, you know, just do the minimum possible. That feels so cheap to me, but I know I'm going to fail. And, you know, Dean was writing, hey, I think it's possible to take Mersa Matrua, but I've tried so many times and I cannot do it. You know, it's sort of like, you know, this puzzle that cannot be easily cracked. There's a fair amount of shit here. There's a lot of Italians, but I don't feel numerically that they're really that much bigger than what I have parked around Mersa Matrua right now. Sudden death rule, though, I think it kind of makes it so the Brits don't want to leave here. They don't want to move forward and try to make an attack because a failed attack could lose them the entire game. They have to make an attack at some point against the Italians. There's no question of that. But let the Italians overextend themselves as much as possible before you set that up. And also, you know, maybe, I think the 6th Australians, so by the start of Compass, which was in December, the 6th Australians were already not locked, but they weren't trained yet. And that's kind of a problem. Time to expend fuel under one of the special conditions, which is this rags, I don't know what they're actually meant to be, is allowed to do it for 1 SP And no, there's not a 6 on the other side, so. And I can declare that this is fueled. It will be fueled until the end of my turn. Now, I could do this in the reaction phase of the enemy turn and get a better payoff off of my fueling. That's one of the little advantages to reacting. But I would rather get this moving as far as it can. Now, there are units in there that are foot units that I will move as foot units, but otherwise I'm going to push this forward and get at least to Sidi al-Barani. Defense-wise, this is a village. Let's take a look. A village is close terrain, and armor is not particularly benefited there. And I probably don't have much armor. I don't know if I want to pay that full fuel for him. There's not much here. There's a headquarters, which I need to move a headquarters up there. And there's one light tank. So I'm going to just spend two tokens from Bardia, right? I'm not going to be able to get to Tobruk from here by any means. Yeah, I'm going to spend 2 tokens from Bardia. This does not give it the fueled marker that I had on it, which means it's not fueled completely. Now, I've got a slope there I've got to go over. So it's kind of hard to see some of the terrain. There's not much terrain, and it's kind of hard to remember to look. Slopes. So I've got a truck unit, that's going to be a +4, but the track unit's at +2. If I want to move these together, I have to pay the 4. So I look here. I don't know if I want this in movement mode. I want this in movement mode. So 4, 5, 6. See, primary road, I'm still at a half on tracked units. So 6, 7, 5, 6. That only gets me to here. I'll keep these guys together. But I'm going to move this headquarters as far as here. It can't capture Buck, but whatever. Not thrilled. Not thrilled. The expenditures of supply is just so fucking painful overall. Okay, I finally moved a couple of tanks, light tanks, moving them slowly again, keep them in combat formation. I just don't want to be in a position, even though the Brits probably can't reach me, except in movement formation, but my units suck so bad. Oh wait, one's an actual tank. That's not bad. That I moved through Buck. So now I get the capture award, but I don't. So at this point, I have to remember that I captured this in September. Unfortunately, there are no counters to represent that. That, you know, it's what, 2 or more months, right? 2 months, after 2 months of Axis control. So I am going to have to put some kind of marker or something in play to remind me that that has been captured, but I haven't reached the 2 months yet. Because it actually behooves the Allies to wait and get that extra free 2 SPs that is going to be left behind there. And I'll just use a tiddlywink for that. By the way, I looked at some guy, probably quite a while ago, did a little bit of playing of DAK. Probably much more comfortable with OCS than I am. Also posted to the page. And it's kind of neat because he was using winks like this in order to mark where he had planes, which could be a very valuable functionality, because sometimes it's hard to see. You know, everything's kind of greenish blue. Now, I see the planes, I put them on top, and I find them pretty easy to keep an eye on. But just do whatever you need to do to get yourself, a good vision of the game as a whole. This is pissing me off. I think it'll hold better up there. I don't know why it's not holding here. That's the one map that's not working, and I think those are all fresh tape. All right, I got to swap batteries, and we'll keep working through this first movement phase. I know, it's taken fucking forever. Again, I just want to show the overall effort that's involved. Technically, I just realized this is on the Egyptian side of the border. I couldn't have moved those 2 tokens there as early as I did, but now that I've captured it, I get that full port capacity. There's no sort of charging of the port capacity. Now, there are rules for people to try to blow up their ports and stuff like that, which might be of some value as you're losing terrain so that the enemy is not able to get that full capacity. I don't think the Italians are going to try to do that in their withdrawal, simply because they're going to lose so much ground so quickly. Maybe once I get up near Benghazi or whatever, once I get up there, I may start thinking about, actually burning stuff down. But I'm just not that worried about allies gaining port functionality before that. I'm expecting everything to fall. But I guess the key piece of information is that these supplies that I'm sending into Solom, they get sent there during the movement phase. The transportation happens during the movement phase. So it does not hurt me. It's not bad that I did this. Technically, I wouldn't have been allowed to do it in the order that I did it, that's all. So far, this truck has spent 23 of its movement points shifting some supplies from Bardia to Buck, then went back up to Tobruk, grabbed a full supply point from there as well, and pulled that down as far as Solom. That means I still have 22 movement points. Let me count how much I can move, basically. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 movement points to Tobruk. So that puts me to 29. 35 to get back here. Sometimes you can do this calculation a lot easier. So 35 to get back to here. And where do I want to drop it? 36 to Solom, right? Okay. And I want to keep moving. 36 to Solom, and then I count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more, puts me to 43. So I can move 2 more movement points with some supplies on board, and those supplies are just under the truck, I guess, to there. So that's me just, it actually doesn't matter because loading and unloading doesn't cost you any movement. So I'm pushing my supplies forward. I don't want to push them too far forward. The ones at Buck, fine, whatever. But unless I'm going from Ursa Matrua, I don't need to put them very close. So like from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I wanted to launch an attack on Ursa Matrua, I would have to have supplies close around here. Maybe I'll be able to do that, but right now I'm just pushing them as far forward as I think I need to. Now this might be unwise because again, the Italians are going to lose. And whatever supplies I push up there, I'm not going to have. A wiser choice might have been to start, to instead of shipping stuff to Tobruk and whatnot and trying to move things forward, to actually be pulling the stuff back. Not all the way back to the Tripoli, but, because Tripoli is going to be Tripoli, right? Tripoli is going to Tripoli. Whatever. I think I've moved everything. I pushed a couple of planes. This doesn't inactivate them. A couple of fighters I rebased to Buck. There's an air base there. I'm not going to rebase my bombers. They have huge range. And unlike fighters have sort of a, hey, you want to be kind of close so that you get advantages on the on the interception fights and whatnot. If I recall correctly. I've got one unit I haven't moved yet, which is this fucker. Left him. I mean, I've got a lot of units I haven't moved, but I'm not going to. I did move some artillery up there. But this little guy, I probably want to move forward. Do I want to throw him all the way to Sidi Barani? I don't think so. 1, 2, 3. 5 gets me to here. 6, 7. I'll move him in move mode. I could just take Sidi Barani, but that's a kind of good unit, and that yellow dot in the middle where its action rating is, that says I can't rebuild it if I lose it. So if I use that kind of nice rating of 4, he's going to be my casualty, and I'll never get him back. And he's kind of a neat unit. Of course, if I don't use his quality, what is it called? Action rating, I think. If I don't use it, but I like to think of it as quality. If I don't use his quality, I'm going to end up, it's as if he has a 0, essentially. It just doesn't matter. I could use his quality for surprise, right? No. If you use him, he's the lead unit in that case. So yeah, there's not really a good option there. I am sending some guys down here. I'm not sure why. They're going to just end up turning up this way, I think. But I don't know for sure. I haven't decided yet. So I think that's the end of my mode and movement. Now I would get to barrage. Now, I don't want to expend supplies on barrages. There might be some value in trying to attack ports or something along that line with my bombers, but I'd rather keep them available as a reaction. I've moved all my units, so I don't get to use my reserve markers, which generally is a sign that I'm doing something wrong. But, I'm not in contact with the enemy yet. Which gets me to the supply phase. I have set things up so everybody's in trace supply. I believe, maybe not. So I've got a headquarters back here. 1, 2, 3. Traces back to a primary road. Primary road gets me all the way back. These guys are in supply due to the oasis back here. This guy had to move in order to get into trace from there. And everybody along there is close enough to the coastal primary road that they're all in supply. I could probably trace it in other fashions, like, hey, I can get back to a port or whatever. But I have no supply problems in terms of, getting food. Now we'd hit a reaction stage. Now, if I had been clever, I would have set up my Commonwealth with some reserve markers, but, they're surprised. Fuck it. They didn't think of it. It's no big deal. What would I have done? I could have put it on this unit and moved him, whatever. That would consist of a movement and barrage segment. Then we come to the combat phase. This is where I would do my artillery barrages. But again, I got nothing I want to shoot. And then the combat segment, I'd have to be in contact with the enemy in order to do that. If I accomplished getting any exploitation results, I'd be able to take advantage of them now. I could also expend any units that I had put in reserve at this point to move, and I think get their full movement. And I actually could have oozed a little bit of extra movement if I had any formations that were fueled, but I didn't do that. In every case, my formations were not well set up for me to say, hey, just fuel that whole formation. And the only formations I have are the comp groups, which is, I don't know how I'm going to lose those. I'm hoping I don't, but if you look at the historical scenarios, they don't have all of these when it comes to compass, so I don't know what's up there. Then I hit cleanup phase. I would clean up any disorganized and whatever I have. And now I go to the British turn. I think I'm going to actually play out the British turn and finish up turn 1 of this game. Yeah, I know. I've gone into a hell of a lot of detail and whatnot. I don't know how much the Brits are going to do, but basically they start again up here with the aircraft refit, reinforcements, whatnot. And since they do not get supplies, the one thing they will get is somewhere they have a replacement chart, don't they? Don't they? Variable reinforcements. This starts in the 26th of April of 41. So I'm not going to get any replacement points for a long time. Wow. That kind of blows chunks. Okay. So yeah, then I get to decide, hey, what do I want the Commonwealth to do in terms of movement? And I think the main thing is to position myself so that I am with a little bit more defense of Mersa Matruh. Let's see. Okay, well, reinforcements happened during the player turn, so I didn't actually screw anything up yet. But, where did I find it? Variable withdrawals. Roll on the Allied variable withdrawal and return table each game turn, right after rolling for variable reinforcements each turn. We know there are no variable reinforcements, but I don't know. Great. I don't know where it is. There it is. Okay. So we're in September of 40. There are no results possible. So that's cool. That is most awesome. I don't have to make a roll. All right. And no refits. We're at the movement step for this. I was busy with the reason that I ran into this was accidental, serendipity really, but I was looking for the rail works. But honestly, I don't have the guys who can extend the railroad yet, so I'll stop worrying about that. So yeah, now I more or less have to decide what the hell I'm going to do in terms of moving forces. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the stuff that I'm allowed to move from the back ends first, and then try to figure out if there's anything I want to do up near Mersa Matruh. I'm thinking these 4th Indians here, they look like they're under some kind of restriction. I'll have to look that up. But I think they're not allowed to move because I've got them upside down, which is a reminder of something or another. So yeah, not a lot is going to be able to move. Really not a lot I'm allowed to move. Coastal artillery. I'll just leave him there. He's not doing any harm. It's just artillery. Don't bring more artillery to the front. I move these Desert Raiders forward, and these guys using foot movement because why not? I'm not moving my fort units, even though they're allowed to. And I don't have a lot of trucks kicking around. I think I only have organic trucks. I gotta look a little bit more carefully. But I do have some coastal shipping. I'm allowed to ship 1 SP, so I'll send something to Mersa Matruh, get some more supplies in place here. I've got to have a truck available because there's units I want to move forward. 4th Indian, indeed, they're allowed to move within 5 hexes of Mersa Matruh. But, and the New Zealanders, which I did move, because their infantry moved up to there. We'll see if I got more that I want to move. I don't think so, though. It's screwing me up is I don't have any non-organic trucks kicking around. Yeah, I got one here. Okay, so that guy can do something. But yeah, that's really, and that's just, you know, a one token. Do I get more trucks ever? Get one here in October, another token worth. I'm wondering if I got more coming, but yeah, it looks like I really don't have a lot of capability. I got another one here. But without trucks, I'm not going to be able to conduct an offensive moving forward. I know by compass, I had a whole SP worth, I think. Maybe I just had 2 tokens, I don't know. I know I didn't have enough to really operate, even though I had already moved some units forward. Units were already moved forward. The headquarters was here at Piccadilly Circus. I just didn't have very much supply at all, and I used some of it up on artillery and on attacks and whatnot, and everything just fell apart at that point, and I was not able to get the compass victory conditions because the British Army was stalled out from 1 turn's worth of attacks. Oops. Let's try to be clever and not count everything. I've got 45 movement points of trucks sitting in Alexandria. I want to get pretty much to Mursa Matrua. And I have a token, I have a token on the truck. So to do this, I look here. Road distance truck. Alexandria to Mursa Matrua is 13 movement points. But I don't know to make sure. Count yourself to make sure. Road terrain costs for trucks are already taken into account. Note the primary road rate is different for tracked and legged, and you'd have to apply different for them. Okay, so I will trust that. So I have 13 movement points to get to Mursa Matrua. There might be a rounding error in there, but I'm not going to cope with that. So 13 movement points allows me to haul the token that I have here to Mursa Matrua. Drop it off. Now I'm at 26, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. And we are unloaded. Definitely a lot simpler. Glad that chart's there, because counting, you know, when you're doing short range movements, it's fine. Like, you know, you count and you're like, oh, I'm 15 movement points away, I can do 3 trips, you know, whatever. I was doing all kind of shifting like that. But I'm trying to get my supplies up to Mursa Matrua. I assume I can hold it. I got an infinite dump here, that's fine. I think I've moved everything I want to move, which gets me to reaction segment. I didn't place any reserves. I'm allowed to place reserves for the Brits. I didn't move any of this, so we're going to put that under reserve. That includes these guys. I got more reserves that I didn't move. Put one there, whatever. It doesn't matter. Nothing's going to happen, I think. So that happened back in the movement phase rather than anywhere else. And I could have done that during when? I don't know. Okay. Combat, exploitation, none. I'm not going to use any of this functionality up there, which means that I'm not going to use planes to try to disrupt movement or anything like that. There isn't really a hell of a lot that I think I can do. I mean, I could disorder Italian units and make it so that they're in weaker shape, but I'd have to undergo things like flak and fighter cover and stuff. Why do that? Which means end of turn we do cleanup. There isn't any. And I think that's the end of the turn. Now, technically, kick the tables, damn it. Technically, this should have flipped over during the British turn, but now we're here. Axis player repair allowed. Oh, I forgot. They're not allowed to repair. I didn't do any. I thought about it. Gotta have dice somewhere. I know I've been rolling them. Oh gosh. There they are. I probably ought to get some more dice on the table. I'll put them up here to let me know that's the beginning of a new turn. So that's the end of a turn with nothing happening. But that is the amount of effort it took, to figure things out. Now, it's going to get a lot easier, right? Not in terms of the actual play is going to be easier, but I'm going to be more familiar with some of the concepts in play, like I got to grab my fuel from here, this, that, and the other, whatever I'm grumbling about or whatever. But it's also going to get a lot harder because there's going to be things like combat. It is a war game after all. Anyway, I'm going to send this up and we'll label it as 40 September 1, I guess.